Welcome back, fight fans. Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's just dig right into it. Deontay Wilder is aging himself out of the Anthony Joshua fight. Deontay Wilder has recently come out and stated that even if offered 50-50, the prior demands were met against Anthony Joshua, that he would not take the fight because he has a lot of things lined up. He's showing no indication of wanting to fight Anthony Joshua anytime soon. He keeps putting it off, keep delaying it. It's clear that he's ducking Anthony Joshua, but what he's doing more than ducking is he's aging himself out of the fight. You have to understand that Anthony Joshua's in his prime, just turned 29 years old. Deontay Wilder, on the other hand, is 33 years old. And, if he ages him out for the next 2 years, he'll be about 35, and Anthony Joshua will be 31, still in his prime, still ready to go, and still improving against a Deontay Wilder who's 35, who also has an injury history of a torn bicep, broken hand. So you can tell that Deontay Wilder is breaking down. He's fundamentally flawed, injury history, and he'll be much older. So all of these things will work to his disadvantage. He's aging himself out of the Anthony Joshua fight. Over Anthony Joshua's last 5 fights, you've seen him dramatically improve. Anthony Joshua has defense, consistent jab, head movement, great foot movement. A lot of people say that he's robotic. Anthony Joshua drops and adds muscle as he goes on, depending on who he's fighting and what makes sense. You have to understand that guys don't just, he just doesn't walk around as being the biggest, buffest guy on the planet just for any fight. He picks certain fights to put on muscle. So you have to be honest and unbiased when you analyze things. A lot of guys like to make things about him, but Anthony Joshua's pretty much dominated every fight he's been in. The only fight that he didn't stop someone cleanly was Joseph Parker, who didn't come to win, who came to survive. Joseph Parker didn't want to get knocked out. That's what he really wanted. He wanted to survive that fight, to say he went 12 rounds with Anthony Joshua, to see if he could basically win a decision or at least get some kind of credit for that. And you don't get a cookie for trying to survive. See, at the end of the day, you have to fight to win. If you really want to be champion, if you really come to win, you have to put it all on the line and you have to try to take the belt. And, Joseph Parker never did that. Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder power, in my opinion, is rated on the same level. I understand that Deontay Wilder has more of a one-punch knockout type of power. Anthony Joshua has a two-punch type of knockout power. The first punch wobbles you, the second punch puts you out. And that's pretty much it. I think that both of these guys have enough power to stop the other. The problem with Deontay Wilder is he only has one way he can do it, is by landing that right hand. Anthony Joshua has a variety of ways he can do that. He can counter you, he can wobble you or daze you with a jab. He can do a lot of things to stop you. And ultimately, I think that's to Deontay Wilder's detriment, and I think that he knows that. And I think that he knows that he's fundamentally flawed. He's even mentioned in interviews that he put on a certain amount of weight and muscle to try to, to compete with a Tyson Fury. And here's the problem with that. Tyson Fury is only going to get better and better and better, slicker, faster, quicker. And, putting on muscle may be able to help you absorb some punishment, but what you gain in muscle, you're going to lose in speed, you're going to lose in quickness. And, Deontay Wilder's unpredictable nature is what served him best in boxing to this point. But here's the problem. Tyson Fury has already had 12 rounds of action with you. Tyson Fury, typically a boxer gets better the second time around, and Tyson Fury is going to be much sharper. He's going to have all these tune-ups under his belt. So that's going to be a major problem for Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder stated, and there's rumors to be that he has multiple fights lined up. Tyson Fury stated that he's going to fight Deontay Wilder at the end of the year. He has Dominic Breazeale in front of him now. And then, Adam Konaki as well as Luis Ortiz stated that they've been promised Deontay Wilder fights. Those are 4 opponents sitting between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. You have to understand that Deontay Wilder is doing himself no favors by trying to age himself out of the fight. Here's another problem with Deontay Wilder. We don't know he makes it past all of these fighters. He could be another case of cherry picking gone wrong, such as, if we're going to reference a Julian Williams and a Jared Hurd, or we're going to reference a Tony Harrison and a Jermell Charlo, because you have to understand that Deontay Wilder is a very flawed fighter, and eventually those things catch up to you. Cherry picking does go wrong, and that could definitely happen with Deontay Wilder. Deontay Wilder will not be at his peak for much longer, because you can already tell his body's breaking down with injuries and his injury history. He's took more punishment against Tyson Fury than we've ever seen him take, and he looked hurt at times in that fight. But Tyson Fury just coming off the couch, not being at his best. We don't know if that version of Tyson Fury was really at his peak form, and we don't believe it to be. But now you see, Tyson Fury honing his skills and being able to, shoot off pretty much at will any shot that he wants on Deontay Wilder. I think he has a very chance of dropping Wilder a few times in his next fight, and maybe even stopping him. I understand that people think it was outrageous to say something like that, but you have to realize that I was one of the few people who picked Tyson Fury to beat Deontay Wilder the first time, and I truly believe he he was robbed against Deontay Wilder. You know, he pretty much dominated 10 rounds out of 12, aside from the 2 knockdowns. So you have to give him that. Anyone that's saying Deontay Wilder had a draw or won that fight pretty much are not fans of boxing. They're fans of Deontay Wilder, and you have to separate the two. Being a fan of Wilder and being a fan of boxing, you have to be unbiased and honest when you look at it. Tyson Fury should be the WBC world champion, and that's just the honest truth. Deontay Wilder aging himself out of the fight. He may not make it through the gauntlet of fights ahead of him between him and Anthony Joshua. So he should fight Anthony Joshua next. There's no point in delaying it. He had a $100 million offer. He has a lot on the table that he's turning down to gamble and bet on himself when Deontay Wilder has an injury history, when Deontay Wilder is probably the most fundamentally flawed boxer in boxing. So Deontay Wilder has a lot of obstacles, and he's not young. So that's another problem. Deontay Wilder is going to also age himself out of the fight. He's going to continue to slow down, and Father Time's going to continue to catch up with him while Anthony Joshua continues to improve boxing wise. And we don't know how good Anthony Joshua will be in the next year to 2 years when Deontay Wilder finally dares to step foot in the ring with Anthony Joshua. And I can guarantee you, if he steps in the ring with a loss on his record, that fight won't be worth the same. People will lose a lot of interest, and Anthony Joshua will be able to get Deontay Wilder at a much bigger discount. But once again, unbiased as always, it's the IBFP. Please share, like, and you must absolutely subscribe.